Probably should have, since I'm holding my camera today. It's nippy out here. It just snowed last night. Got a ton of snow. I'm on top of my shipping container. Doesn't look like much. Most of that slid off already. What's up, everybody? How's it going? What's up, everybody? What's up? It's going good, Kip. It's going good. Had to come out and clean off my solar panels. I had a ton of snow on them. Yeah, that's all been figured out. The last video I did with the double form it's the third dome I did basically using that system. Slight variations from the first one to even this one. This one here was a double airform system. So whereas the double shell dome had two dome shells, this one had two airforms that were both inflated, and then we filled the cavity. It doesn't work very well because the weight of the cement, whether it's Aircrete or Epic, just bulges out the fabric on the bottom. So I wasn't able to take the airform off without cutting it. But otherwise, as I mentioned in the video, the system works. It's really good. I honestly need a bunch. I remember 3 years ago when you were learning. Yeah, I definitely have a lot more experience under my belt. If we look at this dome, this dome was looking very pretty. You can see it kind of has like a bullet shape. This was an experiment where I took one of the gore forms. The gores are the orange peeled shapes that you put together like a baseball cap to make a dome. I took one out, and by doing that, it made the dome pointier. My buddy Dan told me that was one of the effects by removing a gore, and then by adding a gore, you make a more flat top. So that was an experiment. It came out beautiful until I forgot to turn the blower on, and then the whole thing collapsed from the weight of the cement. That was disappointing. Hey James, how you guys doing? Hey William, I've been seeing you everywhere, William. So your honeydew and what's that green dream project? I'm like, there's William. He's covering his YouTube bases. Yeah, buddy. So yeah, it just snowed last night, and I was just on top of the shipping container, sweeping off my solar panels. They're not optimized. They're just laying flat on the containers. It'd be nice if I could angle them, because this is actually facing east. The sun actually comes up virtually right from behind that mountain. So that's my east. And what I like to do, maybe this year or next year, is take my solar panels and lean them up on one side, lean them so they're like this. So I get that easterly sun. And then you can't see it, but on my other shipping container, I like to put them flat, straight up in the middle container. And then on the end, I like to face them towards the west. And so I felt like that'd be pretty nice. And I'm only thinking of doing it because the price on solar panels went down so much. Like these are 325-watt panels, and the prices have gone down tremendously. So I'm considering now just getting more solar panels and angling them differently. Yeah, so this is my south view. Got my sun there. Yep. What's up, everybody? What's your latest approach for the fastest pour? Well, if we're talking about pouring the dome, the double shell is the fastest. I mean, 5 days, minus the mistakes that I made. If you take, those little mistakes out, it's super fast, man. I mean, you really can't build any faster unless you're building a pre-built structure, but from mixing and spraying your own cement, this system is super fast. When do you do the outer foundation for the concrete pour? What type of stakes or pins you use, and what type of wood do you use? Attach it with nail gun, staple. Yeah, so I use iron stakes. They're not rebar stakes. They're iron stakes, and the iron stakes come with pre-drilled holes in them. And I'm only using the iron stakes because of my ground here. Because I'm in the Rocky Mountains, and every time I pound a wooden stake into the ground, I would hit a rock and the wooden stake would just split. So I just invested in the iron stakes, which are reusable. And yeah, so the iron stakes is what I use. And I use screws to hold the masonite wood. The wood is masonite. And I cut it into 6-inch strips and attach it. So yeah, it goes up really fast. If you go to my website, aircreteharry.com, on the video tutorials, I just uploaded a couple days ago my it's a 5-hour video on how to build the foundations. So it's as if you were at a workshop of mine. I teach you everything from the stakes to the plastic to the radon barrier. Like, you get the full lesson. By the time you're done, you'll be able to build your own foundation in no time, even on uneven ground. That's the other thing I like about the system. It doesn't require you leveling the ground first. All you have to do is remove vegetation, and you can start building with this system. So yeah, it's really nice. And yeah, a regular stapler I use to staple the material on. Can you point to the double shell? I can't remember which one. Yeah, I'm on top of a shipping container now. The double shell is actually right there, right above my Starlink satellite dish. That's the double shell dome is there. This is the one we're currently living in. This is our tiny cabin house. And that's part of the house we're building. By summertime this year, this should all be complete. That's the plan. I'm going to go full bore on getting that house built. 9 domes, about 2,200 square feet of living space. So anyway, that's the double shell dome. This was the double airform dome, two airforms, and we poured. This was epic. We poured in the middle. I mean, it works, but it's not ideal. Um, yeah, the double shell dome is much better. Two hard shells and then filling the cavity with aircrete. It's really good. Unless, of course, you're building, an epic dome, which is also really good and strong. Living the dream. What a setup. Yeah, thanks, Blake. Um, who we got here? Are you doing the 24-foot living room dome last? Um, yeah, no, actually, because of the access that I need, because the 24 footers in the center, it would be a little more difficult, I think, to build that one last. So I think I'll probably gonna leave the closet dome for last. So there's on the outer perimeter, the 8 domes consist of our entry dome, and then to the left would be the office dome, and then a microgreen dome where it'll be strictly set up for growing microgreens. Then a pantry dome. Let's see. Uh, okay, so you can't see. There's another dome behind this one. That's the microgreen dome. This dome you see there's the office, my office workshop dome. Then that's the pantry dome, kitchen dome, bathroom dome. Next to the bathroom is going to be a closet dome, a bedroom dome, and right over here is the entry dome. And then in the middle is going to be the living room dome. Oops. We don't need a crazy close up of me. There we go. Flip it. Yeah, so anyway, the living room dome will be second to last. The closet dome will be the last dome we build. Um what's going on here? Okay. Have you tried using fabric dipping in concrete? Yeah, I did actually. You kind of see it when I built this dome in 2019. I was using the a different cement. I forget right now. I got a brain fart. It's another cement I was using, and I did dip the fabric in that cement and put it on, but it was really a big hassle to do. And yeah, I won't be doing it anymore. But I have tried it, and I wasn't successful with it. Harry, what is the temp in the dome? With the yeah, well, with one heater on, the temperature is like 70 degrees inside the dome, and if we put 2 heaters on, it gets hot. And we get some below freezing weather right here too. So, but I tell you, that dome, it's only 3 inches thick. The dome shell is only 3 inches, whereas the house we're building, the insulative layer is going to be 8 inches thick. So at 3 inches thick, with this dome, which is just made of Epic, unlike the other domes that are made with different cement mixes, yeah, that's been very comfortable. And we've had a dome. Good morning, Ralph. Yeah, so oh, and by the way, I just got a new hookup for batteries. The same batteries that I got. A buddy of mine gets them pennies on the dollar. So we're working out and discussing a deal where we can offer the batteries to everybody. They're the iron cell, nickel plated iron cell batteries. They last forever. They have the lowest temperature and highest temperature rating. They have no memory, so the battery you can use it, drain it dead, and then recharge it. And yeah, so I'm working out a deal for batteries and also the ETPE fabric. I think it's ET. I always forget the acronym, but it's a really super strong plastic. If you look up Eden Project, which was this giant greenhouse built in London, you'll see that it's a giant geodesic greenhouse built with this EPTE, I think, material. And so anyway, he's got the hookup, and we may be ordering some of that too. So future video, I'll be letting everybody know if anyone wants to order the material. We'll order it and get a really good price. So if you're looking to build a greenhouse, this material is super strong. I mean, it's not like regular plastic. This is way stronger than regular plastic. And then the batteries, it's the same batteries I have. You could look at a previous video of mine where I show my batteries for my solar system here. And yeah, we've been very happy. Now that I know I could get the same batteries like for a fraction of the price, we just have to have a minimum order, because you have to order like X amount of pallets worth of batteries to get the deal. But it's so worth it. Anyone who's looking to go off grid or looking to upgrade your batteries, these would be the ones to get. And anyway, yeah, I'm excited about getting those batteries because I paid a lot for mine, and once we get the hookup, you won't have to. You'll pay a fraction of what I paid. What I paid is ridiculous, but they were the best batteries. But now I know I can get them cheaper. That's going to be a no-brainer. The microgreen dome will also be good for medical marijuana, especially in Colorado. Yeah, I might grow some herbs in the dome. Yeah, why not, right? I have to have a greenhouse, or the greenhouse we're still working on. You can see all that pile of dirt there. That's the greenhouse. We can't finish the greenhouse until we rent an excavator again. So I'm just waiting until when we need to rent an excavator. I'll probably rent it for a month and bang out a bunch of projects while I have it. And I say for a month because if you rent these pieces of equipment like excavators and bobcats and things, what I've found is the prices get much better the longer you rent it for. Like if you rent it for a day, it's like $350. You rent it for a week is like $1,200. You rent it for 4 weeks is like $2,400. So you end up getting a much better deal, and you don't have to stress yourself about, having enough time to do a project. So that's why we're waiting, because we got a bunch of projects building up. So we're waiting until we have all the projects we need an excavator for. Then we'll rent it for you probably a month, because that's the best deal for your money. And then I don't have to stress about using it. So yeah, that's something to look into. Sometimes it might pay to rent a piece of equipment longer, so that you don't have to stress about having to return it. Because I have to pay like $250 just for delivery. So I don't want to have to rent a piece of equipment more than once, trying to save some money, Harry, what's your thoughts on flywheel generator? I don't really have much thoughts on it. I've seen maybe one or two videos. If I'm not mistaken, the flywheel generator is basically a wheel, a disc that's heavy. And aside from that, I really don't remember how it works. I have some other ideas for making power, and I'm looking forward on working on those this year and sharing that with everybody when the time comes. Woohoo! Hi to you and Mrs. Aircrete. Thanks, dog. With all that wind, I'd use some egg beater turbines or something. Yeah, those turbines are pretty cool. It would pay to get a windmill because we definitely get enough wind up here. I mean, right now it's pretty calm, but like yesterday was blowing up a storm, and yeah, I would like. I seen some DIY windmills. Robert S. Murray, I think his name is. I forget. Yeah, English cat from England. He's got a YouTube channel, and he made like I think he called it the rose petal turbine, and it was a simple design, and it looked pretty efficient. And there was another Russian inventor who came up with a rotor. It's I think it follows this kind of phi ratio, the golden mean geometry. I'm trying to remember the name. I think it's called like the Obnipke rotor. I forget exactly, but it's an old video. I'm surprised. Like it looks so efficient, that windmill. The guy, he's standing next to this 5 foot diameter windmill that's got this spiral shape. It's not like an Archimedes screw. It's a different geometry, but he's holding a plastic bag in his hand, like a shopping bag, and he's got a wind speed meter, and this wheel's turning. His windmill's turning from like no breeze. Like the the speedometer is not registering anything, and the bag it's not blowing. But this generator, so I don't know. It looked like a really simple design as well. So yeah, I'm surprised like those things aren't more available. I haven't seen them out there. I'm talking about the video's like 5 years old. Anyway, yeah. You can use the inflator wiggle generators. They look like if you took French fry man and initiated him to max out. Yeah, I've seen I seen what you're talking about. It's like it's just like a pole. It actually looks like a bat because one end is a little bigger, and yeah, just wind blowing past it makes it vibrate. Yeah, I have seen it, and that's interesting also. Also, another thing I thought of, since I have the property here, I have the land. I thought of one of those blimps. Actually, the one I was thinking of is like a propeller and a cowling that floats. And so I could float one up and tether it to 4 points on the property and have it pretty high up. And I could make use of the winds, the higher speed winds that are up higher. But that's actually probably a lot more of an expensive endeavor to go on. But I did like the idea of it. Um, you might consider using fiber optic lighting for these domes. Good way to pipe in daylight without windows. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have windows. I'll probably most likely have round windows um, with my iris because I'm really interested in making the iris shutter. You know, like a camera iris that opens and closes from the center. And I want to make shutters, round windows with iris shutters on all the domes. Um, and just two of them, two or three of the domes are going to have skylights. Definitely the 24-foot living room dome is going to have a big skylight because one of my dreams is to be sitting in the dome on the loft area on the second level, looking out my skylight when it's snowing like this, and I'm nice and toasty inside. I might even read a book. um, I was actually looking for property near hot springs to see if I could dig a hot well. Laugh out loud. Yeah, you probably could. There's definitely a lot of hot springs out here in Colorado. I haven't been to any myself, but I know people who've been to a few different hot springs. So I don't see anything wrong with the idea. It sounds like it would work if you got a property close enough to one and you dig a hole. You can utilize that hot water coming up. That would be great. Save massively on power. Talk about making a passive system. Are you cutting up some of those trees for firewood? Do you plan on having outdoor fire pits with wood stove in the dome? Yeah, I'm planning on having rocket stove mass heaters of my own design in all the domes. Each dome would have its own little rocket stove mass heater. I don't cut the wood down. I don't cut these trees down. Just the trees that we moved for the build were the only trees that I moved. That I didn't cut down. I just yanked them out with the tractor when I had it. Um, but there's tons of trees. Like we walk around the property, there's a lot of dead trees laying around that we like to um, every couple of months we'll go through the property and just drag out a bunch of trees and stuff. And what I really need is one of those little ATVs that I could drive through the property to make it a lot easier to do some other jobs, because there's some other builds I like to do where you can't get to it with a regular vehicle. So an ATV would help to carry the cement and water and everything to the more remote locations that we can't reach with my regular truck. So that's a future thing with the ATV. Um, that'll be fun to do. Harry, are the domes waterproof with airforms made out of Tyvek? Is what they quote. No water leaks, or does it need to be waterproofed with cement waterproofing? Yeah, the domes get a waterproof stucco layer. Like this doesn't have it, this dome, but uh, say I was gonna do it on this was an experimental dome. That that archway here was an experimental latex mix, as well as the roof, the actual dome portion here, was also a latex mix experiment for making waterproof stucco mix. And so by using the latex mix, the way I mix it, I make a waterproof stucco layer. And for the domes, for the house, when I do my final stucco coating on top of the insulative layer that's going to go on, I'll be using white Portland cement so that I can use cement dye to color the dome whatever color I want. I want to stay away from paint, because if you were to paint it, you'd have to repaint it every couple of years or whatever, especially with the sun we get out here. So the idea is to make a probably a quarter-inch thick, maybe a little less, waterproof stucco layer. That's my coloring, my waterproofing, and my finishing coat, because I also trowel that smooth. So that's the idea. Oops, sorry about that. I keep touching my screen here and it changes my image. Yeah, that's annoying. Okay. Um, very interested in the batteries. Yeah, send me an email with the subject batteries. So when I get that all worked out, I'll be able to offer people, and everybody can get a really good deal on some of the best batteries. Like those lithium batteries, I don't care what type of lithium, they all suck in comparison to these batteries. You can't beat them. Have you seen a biodigester? Yeah, actually, I seen one in this dome. I have mine stored in there. Only reason I didn't set it up, I had this dome here set up as a bathroom dome during the workshop, and I was gonna put my biodigesting system right here, but I need, because we have bears and mountain lions, I felt like the bear would probably just claw his way right through it to get to the food scraps or whatever. So I just put it away there. I need to build a shelter for it, and I'm planning on also making a solar hot water heater system that will have tubing underneath the biodigester so it gets warm even in the wintertime. Like even now, a solar hot water heater would heat that thing up so it would constantly make gas. Because, if it gets cold or freezes, it doesn't work. So, yeah, I do have a biodigester for sewage as well as food scraps. And, for the exact ideas to use the gas to cook with or to run a generator or whatever. Dream talk. Yeah, Ron, this is well, some of it's dream, some of it's already reality. Howdy, Harry. I'm new to your channel, trying to decide type of off-grid structure to build on land already have well and barn considered earthship, but not ideal in my region. Any wisdom to share? Yeah, sure. Check out my buddy Alosha's class if you're interested in Earthship. He's got a modified Earthship. He's taken tons of workshops from Earthship to Barrel Volt Arch. I forget the name. Cal Earth. Also, he's done a bunch of workshops, and so he has his own version of um, an Earthship for cold climates. So he's in Russia. He's like, I think it would be the equivalent of Canada, like that latitude. And he's dealing with very cold weathers, and he has a very intricate design for a Earthship. But if you want to build something really fast, I'd recommend taking my workshop. I have an online course now available. Um, I have 2 videos out, and I have more videos coming out. I'm limited to how much memory I can use. I only have 20 gigabytes a week of videos that I can upload, and each video is about 20 gigabytes. So I can only upload one video a week. So the first video on the foundations is already out, teaches you everything you need to know to build a foundation with my system, and also how to build the airform and mount it and inflate it. So I have 2 videos out now. You can go to video tutorials on aircreteharry.com. And I would say, even if you want to build an Earthship, which are really nice for a lot of reasons, especially Alosha's uh, designs, you got to check them out. They're very organic looking, very a lot of sacred geometry incorporated into the designs. I'm actually taking his online Zoom class on drawing, how to draw your plans. I'm more interested in the Rhino version. I mean, the Rhino portion of the class. We just got done with paper, how to draw on paper, and there's a lot to be said about drawing on paper. I'm not a big fan of it because I really don't have the table space to draw. I'm really limited. We have this RV and that dome, and those are my only 2 indoor spaces. And anyway, I'm not set up for drawing, and I'm much better with Rhino CAD. And so anyway, I'm looking forward to some tips and tricks I'm going to learn from Alosha on Rhino CAD. But yeah, so I'm doing a course now with him, and the again, what I'd recommend is one of these domes because they go up so fast. After your foundation is done, your actual dome shell you can have up in 5 days. So in 5 days after your foundation's been completed, because you want to give your foundation minimum of 2 weeks to cure. Ideally, you want 4 weeks for your foundation. So I would give it a minimum of 2 weeks. So like if you're in a real hurry and you want to build already, let your foundation cure for 2 weeks. Then you could build you could build a dome. It doesn't. It could be larger than you can build up to a 40-foot dome if you want it. But I'm recommending like a 16-footer because my wife and I have been living in this dome for 3 years now. This is our third winter in that dome, and it's been great. So I'd recommend it because you could quickly build that and start living in comfort in safety from wind and snow and rain and hail. It's just a solid structure while you build your earthship, which would take a lot longer if you're pounding tires. I mean, I'm not personally interested in building an earthship the way it's built now. I have my own ideas on how I would build it. And I've discussed some of those ideas with my greenhouse, like removing the tire, the sidewall from the tire, so I'm not pounding it with a sledgehammer. Anyway, it's a much longer discussion. So I would recommend my online workshop on how to build foundation and airform, and then coming out soon is spraying and anyway, everything else you need to know about building. So, because you could build this method super fast while you take your time building, whether it's an Adobe or Hyper Adobe or Super Adobe structure. I think they're great. They're freaking solid buildings. They're built with dirt, but they're very labor intensive. This isn't. This is really fast. So again, you could build this, be living in comfort while you work on your Super Adobe, Hyper Adobe, or Earthship house. And anyway, that's my recommendation for everybody or anybody looking to build any type of structure. Build a dome first because it's the fastest and strongest. And God forbid you live in an area where there's a lot of woods and there's fires. At least your dome would be your shelter, your safe haven. In case there were a fire, there were a tornado, you'd be safe in your dome as you build whatever other dream structure you want. For me, it's the dome is my dream structure. I've been dreaming about it since New York. So that's my personal thing. But I know a lot of people, they're into building other structures, and I think they're all cool. I'm just not with the labor. I'm not about it. So anyway, that would be my tip is to build it down and then build anything else you want because you'll have a place to be comfortable and living. The floating wind turbine thing you mentioned was created by a company called Altair or something like that. Um, I'm sure that's one of them. That might be the windmill that was made like in like Sweden or one of those countries, Greenland, I forget. One of those countries from over there, from that side of the world, made an Archimedes type windmill. The one I'm talking about is a Nipke, I don't know how to pronounce it, a Nipke rotor. And yeah, anyway, it's a Russian guy. It's OP something. I don't know. I'm not sure the spelling of Nipke. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right, but it was a really cool windmill. And I actually made a little paper version of that windmill. I took a regular square sheet of paper and I did the what looks like a wing foil design. I cut it out and like pulled it. So it went from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. I stuck it on the end of a pencil. I stuck it onto a pencil. I used the pencil as the the uh, the shaft, and it worked. Like I blew on it and it spun. I wish I recorded it, and I've been intending on doing that experiment again. I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, there's a lot of windmill designs out there that are cool, that are DIY. You could build yourself. And anyway, beautiful imagery of you and your goal of reading under a skylight in the snow. Yeah, I kind of laughed a little at the reading part because I don't read much, but I love Audible books. So I could see myself under the skylight listening to a book, enjoying the beauty. Because I got to tell you, like, I don't know if these are chemtrails or not, but there's an interesting cloud pattern that's developed here. But at nighttime, the stars out here are amazing, and that's another dream. Like when my wife and I, Mrs. Aircrete and I first moved here, before solar panels or anything, we actually laid on this shipping container, and we were up here because we were new to the country, and we were worried about animals like just coming and attacking us. So it was my idea. I was like, it would be much safer on top of the shipping container. So anyway, point is, we laid up here and we were enjoying the stars, man. It was just amazing. Like every night, as long as it ain't cloudy, every night I come out, I step out of my dome, standing right there, and look up, and I can see the entire Milky Way galaxy. And it's freaking amazing. Like the stars out here are like none other. We get a little bit of light pollution coming from the city, about 30 minutes that way. And there's a little bit of light pollution coming from some corporation, some business. I don't know what the heck it is. It could be a utility company or something, but you could see a little bit of light pollution coming from over there. But otherwise, there's virtually no light pollution here. And that just makes for some incredible stargazing. And I got one of those telescopes that automatically tracks, whatever you want to look at. I just haven't looked at any videos on how to make that part work. So I'm constantly manually tracking. Like I saw Saturn and Jupiter last year for the first time. And wow, man, that's really like a jaw dropping experience to look through a telescope and see Jupiter and the moons of Jupiter. And you can see the color and the storm. And then Saturn was even more impressive to me. Like the rings of Saturn. Wow. Like, and the moon is just ridiculous. Like I love looking at the moon with the telescope. Yeah, I got the Meade telescope, the automatic tracker, which I haven't figured out yet. Have you tried adding latex based paint to your concrete mix? I've been told it helps make it mostly waterproof. Thoughts? Yes. This top here, I did that. Actually, I think I also did it on the archway. I did a little bit on the dome because I did a couple of mixes playing around. And then I did some here, and I did use regular paint. It needs to be acrylic. Outdoor paint is preferred, but I think any acrylic paint would work. It can't be oil based. It has to be acrylic based paint, and yeah, it'll definitely work. You have to do some experimenting of your own though. And the good thing about that is the paint you could get cheap. Like when they mix up a wrong color, like at the hardware store, they usually sell that paint cheap. Or the recycle place will have paint, unused paint that you could use for a cement project. So I would say definitely try it out. What you're basically doing is replacing the water in the mix. So, say for example, you would normally add 4 or 5 gallons of water to one bag of cement. You'd add maybe like 2.5 gallons or 3 gallons of water, and then the rest would be latex. But you're best to just do your own experimenting. But it does work. As far as using lead paint to block EMF, since you say not to paint, could one mix lead into? Listen, forget about lead. You don't want to even be messing with any type of lead at all. There are other things out there. I think I know that one experiment I want to do. I spoke to another guy, Christopher, about this. Was using charcoal. So making biochar charcoal. That's that's already a conductive material. And my thoughts were mix charcoal with, it's really not enough time. I got a ton of other experiments to do. So yeah, I wouldn't add any lead. I'd stay far away from lead as possible. Putting TEG modules on the back wall of your solar hot water will give you electric power. Yeah, I forget what that acronym's for, but I know you're talking about those plates that when they get hot, they make electricity, and those are good. You could incorporate them into a lot of things, and they're really inexpensive. So you could wall up and make some power. There's definitely a lot of ways to be more efficient and capture any waste heat to turn into energy. Dreams do come true. It's true, Ron. They do come true. You're still married. That is amazing. Yep. Still married, 16 years, happily. How much longer will you say it takes to do dome with sprayer or hands versus double pour? Um, I'd say it's about the same time. Really, the double dome shell is for me is if I don't have or don't want to deal with shredding styrofoam and shredding paper, because those are the two ingredients you need to build with Epic. So if you don't have it, you're in a country and somewhere you just can't get it, then the double shell dome works great because it just requires sand and cement for your shells, with reinforcing fabric. And then your Aircrete is just Portland cement. And you can make your insulation layer. And depending on where you're building, you can make, like I did here, I made a 6-inch thick wall, yeah, a 6-inch thick insulation of Aircrete. But if I were like in Alaska or something, I would have made it 12 inches. And so you can easily adjust the size. Take you one day to make the airform and the fiberglass mesh, to cut it and sew it. It's such a fast process. Like it's really, that's the beauty of it. It's fast, it's inexpensive. A $60 stucco sprayer and an air compressor is all you need to spray your dome up. And yeah, it's fast. Let's see. What you're talking about is different from what I thought of. Probably. Probably, Rock. Um, Speaking of you reading underneath your skylight and the snow, I hope you do a YouTube video or put a video course on doing the loft for a bigger dome. I can't wait to visualize how you do it. Yeah, well, I'll explain quickly that when I put the airform up, I make these cardboard pieces that allow me to make a pocket. So imagine this is the airform, and right here on the outside, I'll make a pocket of cardboard, and then I'll cover that with a mesh sprayed and everything. So when the airform's removed, there'll be a hole in the wall. That hole's where I put my floor joist. So I'll have the floor joist going from here to the other side, and you just have to make it so that they're angled, so that everything is straight going across. And I use the walls of the dome as the support for the floor joist. It's really a simple system, but when setting it up, you got to get it right the first time. You don't want to mess it up. And yeah, there's a whole process that I have for doing that. Using a laser level on the inside of the dome. And yeah, so that will be an interesting video to see when it finally comes out. The only dome getting a loft is my living room dome. Um, so that's the only dome I'll be putting a loft in. So that video will come out, when I do that 24 footer. That is great to know. I wish I could have linked up with you when I lived in Colorado, so I could have learned this priceless trade. I've For into yeah, Buffalo, you're welcome. What's that? Buffalo lingo? Buffalo lingo. Um, yeah, wish no more. Just go to my website, and I have the online video course on building the dome. So you can see right now the foundation video and the airform video. They're both about 5 hours long. Um, those two videos are available now, and soon will be the mixing the epic and spraying the epic. And once those videos are out, it's going to be a 4 video series on building the dome, and it's as if you were actually standing here at the workshop. I go through everything you need to know in those videos. And yeah, no worries. Just get the video. Some information I have from Monolithic Dome says you can build their domes EMP resistant or EMP proof. How exactly they do that, I don't know. Yeah, neither do I. I mean, there are ways of just painting. The easiest way to EMP proof or EMP proof EMF EMP your house is with the paints. They have the paints with different metallic stuff in it, whether it's silver or copper. I don't even know, but I know they do work because I've purchased clothing through these companies, and like I have a hat that's EMP proof, and I put my cell phone or something in it, and the call will drop. If I'm listening to a radio and I put the hat over the radio, the signal's gone. So I haven't tried the paint personally, but knowing how some of their other products work, I'm pretty confident their paint works as advertised. And you could just paint your house into being, protected from EMF or EMPs. Um, hey, Aircrete Harry. Hey, Antonio. They don't have a school I can use my remaining GI bill to learn this trade and start an LLC or nonprofit, at least not that I've been able to find. It's a bummer. I've learned by doing hands-on, not visual. Yeah, that's interesting. When I used to work for the phone company, they had a program where you could take virtually any course you wanted as long as it was accredited. If the course were accredited by a college or university, whatever, the company would pay for us to go to the school, and it was awesome. I took I took everything from heavy equipment, locksmith, PDR, paintless dent repair, cooking. Like, took a ton of courses that the phone company paid for, and that was awesome. So I don't know if maybe there's like an accredited thing. Um, you can get the GI Bill thing to pay for it. That'd be interesting if I just made my course accredited, and then it would be I don't know. I'm actually not going to be doing too many more workshops. This year may be the last year I do any workshops. I really want to get into flipping properties. That's the goal for me. I would like to see you in Aircrete group again. Yeah, I'm in the group. I see you posting all the time, Antonio. I'm constantly getting notifications with your face on it for posts on uh, what is it? Brain fart. Uh, Aircrete Academy on Facebook. Yeah, it's a good group. I like a lot of the projects people put out there. Um, Nick, today, I don't know what you're talking about there, buddy. Green County, agroforestry. I'm in the Nico as well. You on Telegram? Yeah, I'm on Telegram. If you go to, not this video, I didn't put anything in this video yet, but you go to any of my other videos in the description box. I have all my links: Instagram, the Telegram, the room we have on Telegram. I don't do a ton of posting on there, but you know, I do respond. So if you should send a message, I'll respond. Have you made any thoughts on using geopolymer cement in your installation? I've seen where the company has, but they don't specify its properties. Well, what I am doing is experimenting with magnesium-based cement. And there's a company that makes a magnesium-based cement that's designed for road repair. For like municipal counties to patch up bridges and roads. And so they have a mix already that's really strong. Because magnesium is a tough cement to work with because it's not a cement. You have to mix it right to make it a good strong cement that's not gonna wash away when it rains. And so it's very tricky. So this company makes magnesium-based cement already. They have their own proprietary mix and ingredients that they use for their mix. And I have also my own mix that I've scoured through dozens of patents online to find the right mix that would work for me. And I've got it, and I will be doing experiments with that. I would like to build a dome with just magnesium based cement, but it's very expensive. I mean, for like 50-pound bag of magnesium, it could be like 60 or $70. It's insane. But there's a massive difference between the two. Number one, is a lot safer. You don't have to worry about any off gassing or anything. Any nonsense like that you might worry about when it comes to Portland cement, you don't have that worry with magnesium cement. And I mean, you could lick your walls and get your magnesium uh, minerals you need in your system. That's how safe the walls are. But the magnesium will cure from 8 to 10,000 psi. So you got your regular concrete, right? Regular Portland will cure till about 35 to 4,500 psi. And if you add a ton of additives and everything, you could get it much higher, but it starts getting very expensive. The magnesium based cement, for me, the idea is I could build a very thin shell that's way stronger than a thicker Portland based cement. And another idea I had is another idea I had was just to put a thin coat of magnesium cement on the inside of my domes. So the walls, the whole dome shell and the floor would be covered with a very thin coating of magnesium based cement. But that's as far as I'm going to be playing with any other type of cement. It's going to be magnesium based cement because there's a lot of benefits to it. Would you say the price of cement is closer to 50% or 90% of the cost of doing the dome, not counting appliances and such? Well, I could tell you, I calculated for the 2,200 square foot house I'm building. It's going to be about 30,000 in materials. That's cement, paper, and yeah, cement and paper. And yeah, so anyway, that's mostly cement. The paper is really very little cost. In fact, I'm going to be picking up 1,500 pounds of paper pretty soon for like $60. It's going to be way cheaper than what I did for these domes, which I bought 50-pound bales of paper for $10 per pound. I mean, per 50 pounds. And anyway, I'm getting paper cheaper. So yeah, 2,200 feet is about 30,000. in cement. So it's really nothing. Are you still a fan of Epic Concrete? Yeah, of course. That's how I'm building my dome house. Those domes are epic. I have Aircrete for the slabs, but the actual dome itself doesn't have any Aircrete in it. It's the Epic. It's the same thing this is made, and the same way that one's made is using the Epic mix. They make an Aircrete of magnesium oxide. It's called Aircrete with a K, and it's used in insulation. Yeah, and it's one of the safest insulations you could use, and it also has the highest R value you can get of any insulation. But it's also pretty expensive. And but yeah, I know about Aircrete with a K, and if you don't, look into it. It's interesting. Honestly, I wouldn't even. Everything's about price. Cost. Like monolithic domes, for example, they use spray foam, and the spray foam is half the cost of the dome. It's insane. It's way too much money. And the magnesium-based insulation for walls called Aircrete with a K, it's also expensive, but it's very good. I think for filling a stud wall, a stud wall cavity, traditional either timber or steel stud frame construction, I think the Styro Aircrete is probably one of the best installations for DIYers. You'll get the best price because you'll get the styrofoam free. You'll mix it with an Aircrete. The Aircrete's the binder and insulation, and you can easily fill your wall cavities and insulate them using Styro Aircrete. That, for me, I think is probably the best system for filling wall cavities to insulate. Otherwise, if you're doing fresh construction, the Epic is just so much faster to work with. You can't spray Aircrete. Aircrete has to be poured into a form, which is why I made a double shell dome so that I could pour it into the form. Different limestone quarries have higher magnesium content. Some lime, therefore, has naturally higher magnesium oxide levels depending on the supplier. Yeah, that's true. They have different percentage of magnesium. I know because I done a search for magnesium, and where I thought I found a great deal for magnesium, it turned out it was only 50% magnesium, and it was used for like for ranch for cattle or something. I don't even really know what they use it for. I don't know if it's plants or just for the animals. But yeah, I thought I found a great deal on magnesium, doing a search online for a place that sold it. And it wasn't 90%. You need 90% or better pure magnesium oxide to be able to make a magnesium based cement. That 50% is not going to work for cement. So if you guys are experimenting, you got to watch out for that. You want to get 90% or better magnesium oxide for any cement you might be making. What is wrong with a brick shape? There's nothing wrong with a brick shape, um, especially if you're building with bricks. But I'm doing round shape because I lived in square shapes my whole life, and these past 3 years we've been living in a dome, and it's been a very different experience. It takes some getting used to, of course, when you're going from a square house to a round house. But those are all things you could work around and figure out. It's not that difficult to figure out. You can always put straight flat walls if you need to put a couch up against the wall, and then behind that flat wall you can do whatever. It could be a closet. There's a lot of different ways of designing. Buffalo Lingo, I am not, but you can find my physical address and phone number on the website as long as after 8 in the morning. Okay, I don't know what you guys are discussing there, but pixelation is giving me a seizure. Oh, well, sorry about the pixelation. I didn't think I'd have that. I'm pretty close to where my router is. I figured this was going to be pretty good connection here. Furious, I'm guessing he doesn't give 1G high speed internet where he is in rural. Actually, I guess it's just the distance. Let me get closer. If you guys would have mentioned something earlier, I would have got closer to where my router is. Yeah, I'm actually getting like 250 megabyte download speeds with my Starlink satellite dish. You can see that's the Starlink. So that's been a massive improvement over this thing. This was my cell phone booster, and I was only getting like 5 megabytes on my phone, on my hotspot with that. And man, we're like 200 megabytes download, like 50 megabytes upload. That's been great. I imagine the connection should be a little better. Oh, wait a minute. Is my Wi-Fi even on? Oh, yeah, no wonder. No wonder. My Wi-Fi was off, guys. I thought I was away. My off. Sorry about that, guys. Wi-Fi is on now, so that's probably going to help with the connection. Aircrete has the same R value as laminated cardboard. You can get cardboard free and laminated and fire retarded. Yeah, who wants to do all that? I mean, I don't. I'm sure somebody does. I could see if you got no money, using cardboard and laminating it would be one way of building. Harry, have you tried mixing PVA when you stir into the styrofoam beads yeah, actually I use PVA fibers and basalt fibers in my mix. So those domes have, even the double shell dome has PVA and basalt fiber chop mixed into the mix. And man, I'm kind of pissed. This whole time I've been on my cell phone signal when I could have been on my Wi-Fi signal. Someone make a comment if the image has gotten clearer since me turning on the Wi-Fi. Or custom build your own furniture. Yeah, I am planning on making my own furniture, Aircrete furniture. I have a couch design, and yeah, I have a couple designs of furniture that I want to make from Aircrete, and that'll be fun because the way I look at it, take your a regular couch. It's usually made of wood, and they got some springs in there, and then they got fabric and some foam cushion. You could do all the same things with Aircrete and probably be even lighter, because there's some couches I had where you needed like 2, 3, or even 4 people to pick the thing up because it was so heavy. I know I could make a couch at Aircrete that you could pick up yourself, and you could still cover it with foam and fabric, and you know just use the Aircrete as a frame. You don't necessarily have to make Aircrete furniture that looks like Aircrete that you sit in. You can make Aircrete furniture that you cover with foam and fabric, and you would never know it's an Aircrete frame. So yeah, expand the mind. There's a lot of options we have out there. But yeah, doing Aircrete furniture is something I intend on doing. Your guard tower on the patrol base in Iraq has styrofoam underneath the cement. It would chip away after bullet holes. Yeah, I'd imagine some bullet holes would chip it away, or wear and tear. We're always stuck. Yeah, I don't know much about guard towers. Nice. I have to check out Starlink. Thanks. Yeah, Starlink, they got a wait list. I waited like 8 months from the time I gave them my deposit. So if you want Starlink, sign up right now because you gotta wait. You can make an alkaline as activated cement with fly ash, steel slag. Yeah, like you guys make these suggestions, and that's all good and all, but where am I getting steel slag from? Like it's not easy to come by. I don't have no foundry close by. I could go load up my pickup with steel slag. Don't get me wrong. I would love to play with that. Fly ash is definitely something I'll be adding to my mixes this year. I've always been a fan of fly ash. Fly ash is measured on a micron scales like 0.001 or 6 microns. So it's a very, very fine powder that's helps when you add that to any cement mix or aircrete. It'll give you a tighter bond, making it more waterproof even, and also add strength. So fly ash is a good thing. You can get it a lot easier than any slag and stuff. Unless you're close to a foundry, then you shouldn't have no problem getting slag. Many Starlink satellites were destroyed by solar flare recently. I heard that someone left a message on some other chat, some other live chat, but I hadn't seen any articles. So if you got an article, preferably a video, some news clip or something, um, I like to see that because, yeah, that's hardcore. Solar flare will do that. I would have thought the satellites were protected from EMP, from solar flares, but I guess not. Oops, sorry about that. Every time I tap my screen to look at comments, the size changes, it zooms in. We built a 10-foot dome, airform series method. I spent less than 1,500 materials for a 6-inch thick, complete with electrical heating with a 750 watt space heater. Yeah, Chad knocked it out. He was one of the first students to bust out a dome immediately after the workshop, which is what I recommend to everybody who takes the workshop. I say as soon as you get home, build a little dome so you can practice it and stuff. And yeah, he did that, and you can find a picture of Chad's dome on the Aircrete Academy on Facebook. He posted some images there, and I'm sure Antonio will repost it if you guys are going to the Aircrete Academy Facebook page for the first time. I do go there every once in a while, and I'll respond to a bunch of comments while I'm on there. There's sometimes I go every day. Other times, like I haven't been on that page in a couple of weeks now. But it is fun to see all the projects people are doing, and I enjoy helping, answering any questions people might have if I can help. It is much clearer. Starlink is awesome. Yeah, thanks. Sorry again. I didn't realize I was working off my cell phone. I thought I was on my Starlink Wi-Fi. Picture looks great. Oh man, that sucks, man. I wanted you guys to have nice clip. Let me walk back over here because the signal should be good enough. Or I could be on this side of my container. Man, I tell you, it snowed yesterday, and we get so much sun, and it's like 30 degrees out here, and it'll still melt. Like all this was full of snow before. You can look at the beginning of the video. Oh, birdies. Yes, what else is going on? I plan on doing one bathroom dome, but would love to have 2 bathroom, a 16-footer at over 200 square feet is a bit much for one bathroom. Would you recommend putting a wall? Yeah, absolutely. I've done some designs where I'll split the bathroom right down the middle and put like a boys and girls side or whatever. Yeah, I got a few designs. I'm considering making a video talking about some different designs, as well as, oh, those are chemtrails. Look at that long ass chemtrail there. As well as talking about some of the YouTube channels that I follow and watch, all the different construction projects, because I have a interest in a lot of building methods, and like when it comes to like the hyper Adobe, man, I forget the name of the channels. Little, yeah. There's a couple. They built a nice uh, hyper Adobe house, and it's cool because they built a straight wall. They didn't build a dome. They built a straight wall and put like a traditional roof on top. And but it was nice because everything it looks so clean. And anyway, yeah, I was considering talking about a bunch of different channels, their building methods, and just critiquing and then suggesting some suggestions how I might do it differently. And then, my big thing is I recommend everyone build a dome because it's just, to me, it's the superior structure. Shape wise, the geometry is hurricane, tornado proof, being made of this material. Like this dome, I did a video where I held a blowtorch and you could still see a piece of the 2x4. I burnt through the 2x4 and there was virtually no damage to the mix. So, it's fireproof. Depending on how thick you make the walls, they're bulletproof. And it's just an all around safe, fast structure you could build to live in safely with your family as you build whatever else, whether it's a shipping container house or hyper Adobe or super Adobe or Earthship. I would just recommend build a dome because it's so fast and cheap. Again, the dome I'm living in now, this is our third winter in this dome behind the RV there, right there. Third winter in there was under $2,000. It cost me $1,800 to build that dome by hand in December in 3 days. Okay, it took me 3 days to build the dome. And we're still living in it, using it until the house is finished. So, I'm speaking from experience. If you don't think you could build one, just go to my online workshop and you'll learn exactly how to build it and get it done. But yeah, that's something I want to do is a video on, because there's a lot of channels I watch. What is it, Martin Johnson family? They build a traditional stick frame house, but I enjoyed it because they built the house from a book on how to build a house, and they built everything by the book, literally by the book. The Johnsons, Martin Johnson, I think that's their channel. I forget the names, and I got everyone saved. And they've done a lot, as well as Tiny Homestead, I think is their channel. They're building the super Adobe. When you got a big family and a lot of people to, all hands on, that makes it so much easier. My building system, this whole method is designed for one person to do. One person, 1 week, you've got a house built. Come on, who's better than you if you do that, huh? So yeah, so that's a video I want to put out and just give shout outs to the channels that I enjoy watching, and I enjoy watching their builds, and I get ideas from watching them, and I think how would I do it differently to make it better. Yeah, let me see. Green County Agroforestry, thanks brother man. Okay, you guys are chit chatting. Steel slag is used as an abrasive blast media for sandblasting. You can get bags. Oh, okay, that's awesome. So yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a bag of the slag and doing some experiments with it, so long as it's easy to get and relatively affordable. I'm all about experimenting, because you got to understand everything I do here is an experiment. These were all experiments before starting the house build. That dome was an experimental build. First time I built with Epic. This dome, actually, this was the first time I built with Epic. This was a double airform build that we poured. So this was the very first. And then that was the second one that we're actually living in. And then this one, sorry if I'm getting you guys dizzy. This was the third dome, an experiment. So this is research, and this is the R&D property, research and development. And unlike a lot of other research and development, I'm limited to my budget, so I can only do so much research and development because it gets expensive. What else do we have here? Um, they have simple DIY mini split heat pumps now, as high as 38 SEER, over 400% efficiency, better than space heaters, and pay for them. Yeah, I'm sure they got some cool stuff out there. I'm personally interested in building a rocket stove mass heater in all my domes. I have my own design using my own mix, and yeah, I got a feeling the rocket stove mass heater I'm going to build with the cement mix that I'm using and my other additives, I believe the stove will probably get up to 4,000 degrees. And if that's the case, I'm also going to turn it into a forge because I'm interested in making my own knives and things. I'm interested in forging, doing a little blacksmithing. And if I could make a forge from a rocket stove heater, holy cow, that would be so cool. I could save my propane. Uh, Chad Creston, wow, thanks for review of Harry's method. Techno, that sounds awesome. Link for info by chance. The thing that got the Starlink satellite was expansion of the upper atmosphere caused by the flare. They are 550 kilometers up within the thermosphere. It's thin, but still atmosphere. Oh, okay, interesting. I had no idea about that. Thanks, Green County, for that little lesson on the location. I knew the Starlink satellites were some of the lowest orbiting satellites, meaning they have to travel around the Earth faster. And that was the reason why they get such great internet connection opposed to internet satellites that are like 350 miles up. And, there's a lot more lag because of the distance the signal has to travel. But knowing now that these satellites are in the upper atmosphere, that's interesting. I'd love to see a diagram, not a diagram, an animation of that, showing how the solar flare affected it. I'm thinking maybe Suspicious Observer might do something like that. That's another channel I like. If you guys haven't heard of Suspicious Observer, check it out. He speaks about the universe and the Earth and how everything works off of plasma, and plasma's powering and heating the different planets up, and the Earth's going to flip in a couple of years and it's going to be disasters. Anyway, look at the disaster video. It's pretty good. You see that video, you're going to want to build a dome and prep for this stuff. The Earth has coming for us. um I'm looking into parabolic domes. Haven't checked yet if there are parabolic shapes. Yeah, if you look up I think the name is Gustavino. Gustavino was a gentleman. He came from Spain. I don't know. I think it's the 1800s or early 1900s. He was building these vaults using the thin tiles, and he did a lot of this cool geometry, different shapes, vaulted shapes. And he built most of the buildings in America that have dome roofs, and some famous places in New York City also have these domed ceilings made from tiles. And what's great is there's no form work needed because the tiles are so thin, and you're using a fast setting cement, that you can build these beautiful arch vaulted ceilings from tiles yourself. You just have to get yourself up there. You don't have to worry about making a framework. The only thing they have is like a little guide, like if you're doing an arch or whatever shape, you got like a little wire or a little piece of wood just so you could follow along. But otherwise, you do it all by hand. I mean, they look beautiful. Obviously, you'd have to practice on a small scale first. But Gustavino, or I think that's the name. Uh, yeah. Anyway, there's a few videos out there about that. But if you want to build arches and hyperbolic paraboloids and those things, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have already done it. Just do some research and find out what's best. For me, I like airforms because I can make them and spray them in no time. But I do think those tiled vaulted ceilings are absolutely beautiful. They're absolutely strong. Some of the strongest structures. You think about some of the dome structures that have been around on this planet. They've been around for hundreds of years, and they're solid. So no reason you can't make your own paraboloid dome. They're out there. I had an absolute blast at the workshop and learned a ton. Harry is not only smart as a tech, but extremely gracious host. Well, thank you, Chad. It's very nice. I don't know any tacks that are smart, but I'll take it as a compliment anyway. Most of the tacks I know, they just stick around. They don't do anything but stick. Sometimes they draw blood too. I worked for a subcontractor and CO after I was discharged. The standard suburbanite type house always seems cheap and inefficient in materials and energy consumption. Everything seemed off about it. Yeah, I agree, and it is. Everything is off about it. The whole system. You look at Europe. Europe, they've been using autoclaved aircrete bricks for years. I mean, well over a decade. Well over a decade, maybe 2 decades. They've been using autoclaved aircrete bricks. I remember looking at I was in, I think I was in Germany, or I was in one of those. I might have been in Poland, and I was looking at I was looking at the construction of a building, looking at the bricks, and just thinking, wow, I never seen bricks like that before. And I didn't realize till later that they were autoclaved aircrete bricks that they were building these houses with. This was like 10 years ago, before I got into aircrete. And then I find out that that's like the standard. So, but here in this country, because of lobbyists and all that, wood is the preferred building method. Even though most people are trying to avoid deforesting and stuff like that. But the price of wood is going up. I mean, you're better off with steel studs, if anything. But yeah, there are a lot of things that should change to build a house way more energy efficient and material efficient than what's currently being used. It's we have a lot to work on when it comes to that. I mean, I'm doing my part with my experiments, and I'm very happy with what I came up with the mix and even the building technique, the method, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I agree. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I have a family. Where am I here? I have a family of 5. What size dome could I build? Do you have plans for that? Well, I don't have plans. I make floor plans. That's a service I offer on my website. So if you wanted floor plans made, and I also get you and give you the structural engineer contact information and stuff like that. So I offer those things. But for a family of 5, I mean, I personally would just build a bunch of small domes. I mean, I did a lot of thinking and a lot of designing, and I've showed some of my designs before. Maybe I'll show again in a new video. I had like 40-foot dome house. A 40-footer would probably do you just fine. But it's a little more difficult to build the larger domes just because you have to reach everywhere. And so you'd probably need a man lift or a bucket truck or something like that to be able to reach everywhere to build the dome when it's 40 footer or something like that. So I built smaller domes. So w- I'm coming from New York City originally, and probably the biggest room I ever had in any apartment of mine was like 12 by 15. Was like a living room. Then like the bedroom was probably like 10 by 12. But I think 12 by 15 was probably my largest room in any apartment I had. And here, these are 16-foot diameter domes. So any of these domes is larger than any room in any apartment I lived in my life. So for me, and even now, my wife and I just live in this dome. This is a dome cabin. It's not set up with electrical and plumbing. Um, so this is just a cabin, and we've been just hunky dory in there. So we're gonna have so much more space once we finished. But I think the 16 footers are great. 200 square feet. I would just build a 16 footer for each kid, And if that's too big, you could do like a 12 footer. Even a 12-foot dome is nice. This dome is a 10-foot dome, and the double shell dome, the inner diameter is 10 feet, and that could also be made into a comfortable bedroom, for a younger kid. Definitely, I would recommend just a bunch of domes. Let each kid get a dome. So the prices range from 2,000 to 5,000 depending on how thick you make your dome shell. This dome here was under $2,000 to build, and it's 3 inches thick. Okay, 3 inches thick is the entire shell. That will be 8 inches thick. So obviously more material means more money. So maybe you got a kid you don't like so much, right? So you can make his dome shell 2 inches thick, right? You save some money on his dome shell. And then the kids you really love, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so depending on how thick you make your dome shell will determine the cost. And so you could build one 40-foot dome and have, probably like a few hundred square foot bedrooms in there. Or my preference is individual domes for each person. Obviously, uh, you and your wife could be in one dome, and all the kids have their own dome. So you'd be, hey, 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 my battery was dying there, and yeah, so it looks like everyone's still here. I thought I got disconnected. My phone was down to 3%. So I just plugged it in. I'm in the RV now. Let me just finish answering questions. Oh, Jeff, thanks for the super chat. Nice. Where was I here? How did I go too far up? How the summers in the dome? Chris, the summers in the domes are great. It'll be super hot out, and we'll go inside, and the domes will be cool. They're always way cooler than outside, and yeah, so they're really good. If you actually looked into it, you would know they have separate tanks and nozzles. Some stuff Monsanto has done since Agent Orange. All right, I'm not sure what Buffalingo's talking about. You can help visualize these domes by arranging different size coins as rooms. Yeah, that's a nice little tip there, Technosaurus. You could use coins. Coins is good. You could use anything round. You could use cup coasters.